เป็นคนมันผม
Hi guys, my name is Laurence and this is Dr. Rocker. No, wait. My name is Dr. Rocker and this is Laurence.
Hello.
And today we will do a drawing practice with you guys, right Laurence?
Yeah.
But which characters will we practice to draw today?
Hey.
The Hulk! That's a good suggestion!
Yeah.
So let's draw the Hulk.
Okay people, I hope you didn't mind my intro with my little one. I love that fella and I want him in some of my videos. It's so nice to have him there and some of you guys really like him as well. So every now and then he will pop up. But now it's time to focus on the drawing. As you can see, I did some perspective lines. The line between the shoulders is a little bit in another angle than the line from the hips. Then we did the line in the middle and drew in the whole upper body. The circles are the actual shoulders, the shoulder muscles, and the whole arms are drawn in as well, as you can see. And there are already our chest muscles, followed by the rib cage. The rib cage ends up in the rib cage defines where the stomach muscles are starting, and I always like to draw in a belt. You don't have to do that. You can just go in and draw the upper body a bit longer, but for me it helps to draw a belt for knowing where everything should be. But that's just my personal preference. You go ahead and do what you want. You can see we are drawing quite easy fists because we want to concentrate. First of all, we want to concentrate on the gesture drawing, but those are also pretty cool fists. It's like a pretty pissed Hulk and I like how these work. And yeah, by the way, the first one we are doing here is a little bit more in detail, and then we are doing more action poses and stuff like that. But first I want you to concentrate on a normal, typical Hulk figure like we are drawing just now. This is just very basic, standing upright. It's also very good to warm up with a bit of an easier pose. So I would also definitely suggest that for all your drawing sessions. If you want to warm up, just do something you feel comfortable with. It's a good way to start your drawing day. Also the legs are pretty simple. I think this one is a little bit too much spread out. I might be erasing that in a second. Not sure, but I think so. Yeah, was a while ago when I recorded that. I would have loved to do the voiceover right away, but you know how it is. It's a stressful life being Dr. Rocker. I have to do a lot of tattoos. I have to work on some secret projects, and I have a family to take care of. One of our kids is quite sick at the moment. That's a bummer. He's got a stomach flu, but a really, really bad one. I even went up in the hospital with him at some point. He's better now, but just recovering just slowly. That's really a bummer. But life goes on. We are on the right track, and now it's time to finally finish this video. So the legs are self-explanatory, I guess. Just follow along. You will be able to do it pretty easily. And yeah, by the way, all of this is in real time, so you can follow along quite good. It's requested and well received by you guys a lot, so I will do more real-time stuff. But I will also mix in some of my crazy edited drawing videos as well, of course. There we have the muscles from the left thigh. Quite easy actually, but I guess even if you're a beginner you will have drawn those quite some times now, so no need to explain too much about those. And you can also variate them a little bit if you feel like it. What am I doing now? I think I'm just putting a little bit more muscles, and putting on a little bit more muscles, and the hand was a little bit too small. Now it's fixed. And here we go ahead and work on the torso. Especially that's where I want you to draw the stomach muscles. And you can see they are going a little bit back. So there's a peak at the end of the torso and then a little bit back towards the stomach muscles. As usually with these gesture drawing practice videos, I'm using my 2B pencil because I like the fluid way of working. You can use whatever you like, of course, but I would highly recommend a softer pencil for these drawing practices because you can easily draw very loose. Doesn't have to be a 2B, but maybe a little bit of a softer pencil than you would use usually. Because a lot of you guys, I guess, are using quite hard pencils, which is great for details and which is great in terms of smudging. But especially for practice, use a soft one and go nuts with your flow. You can also use one of those red pencils or any colored pencils actually, but the red and the blue ones are the most common one for doing underdrawings because they are also quite soft, and it's nice to draw with those. Now we are defining the muscles a little bit more, just the major muscle groups. I wanted to do that especially on the first one because, like I told you earlier, this one is a little bit more detailed. There are the collarbones, but all in all you just have to follow along. Like I also said earlier, it's a pretty easy pose. Then I like to draw an eye in between, and look, I even switched the pencil. This is an H pencil because it's easier to do the details, of course. So with a small face like that, a 2B pencil might be a little bit too much. It's not so easy to go in and do the details. Yeah, then I like the look where he's looking down, because when a character is looking down, he looks especially pissed, and in very many comic book drawings, it's a good way when your character is looking pissed. We want that. We want rage and anger, especially with a Hulk figure. And now we're already done with this one, just putting some hair on his head. You can go with a different hairstyle. I like it when the Hulk has a little bit more hair, but you can also go and do the David Finch one where he has mostly hair on his upper head, which also looks pretty cool. It's just a style choice, whatever you prefer. And what's also important, when you draw the feet, make sure to draw in those toes. You don't have to draw in every toe separately. That wouldn't look too good. Just do it like I did. Draw the big toe and then just a line for the other ones. And of course, a big toenail. And that's the first one, fellas. Which means we covered the basic structure of our Hulk-like figures, and now we can move them a little bit more, to put in some motion. So we also start with the usual lines for the shoulders, and then I'll join the upper body. It's very blocky, especially because it's a Hulk-like creature. You can also use a lot of block shapes when drawing all kind of characters, but especially when you're drawing a character like the Hulk, you can go crazy with these blocky ones because they're very, very jagged creatures. Almost more broad than, almost more wide than tall. Yeah, that's the right one. Wide and tall. Okay, you can see this pose is showing a Hulk who's dashing forward, so the whole weight of his body is in motion. It's not just held by one leg which is very often the case. No, he's in motion and he's dashing forward, so the left shoulder would be where the most weight of his body would be at the moment. And when you need to draw a leg like I did just now, and it's covered by something else, in this case the other leg, just draw it lightly so you will have the right proportions. Because when you just draw the lower leg and you don't really know where it should come out of the other leg, in this case, I hope you know what I mean, then it might be wrong and it looks off and you wouldn't know why. So just draw everything, even if it's covered. That's surely the right way to approach this, and you can erase all these lines you don't need anymore afterwards anyway. But still make sure not to press too hard when you're drawing those ghost lines. Let's call them ghost lines. Yeah, and I guess all that's left to do is to draw in the left arm and the left hand a little bit more. Also quite easy because it's stretched out, not so hard to do. All those muscles, you can go nuts with those muscles. They don't need to look the same all the time. You can do the approach and make them as correct as you can manage, but you don't have to. As long as they look cool, remember that. The face in a side profile is always easy and looks pretty cool, so have fun drawing this. The nose is very short, but I will do a sketch of the head later on anyway, so you will be able to study the Hulk head as well. And this one is the next power pose, I guess. As always, start off with the most basic lines, and in this one I wanted to show a even more bulky version of the Hulk, because there's still room for different interpretations. You can do him very bulky, you can almost get away with a not as bulky body structure and still make him the Hulk if you prefer it that way. If it's less bulky, he might look younger, which is something you might want to do. For this one, I used one of my figurines as for reference, which is a pretty cool thing to do. So if you have, it doesn't have to be the Hulk, but if you have a figurine of some sort where you like the pose, just go ahead and sketch it out. You can either sketch it live or you can take a photo and sketch out the photo. That's also a great way to go. You can see this one is very massive, and a very neat trick if you are drawing a Hulk and you think he looks cool but he's a little bit less bulky than I would like him to look, then you can just go ahead and erase the head and draw the head smaller. That makes such a big difference. So very often that helps out quite a lot. And on the other side, happened to me as well that I drew the head too big, because with the head you're getting more details. You have to draw more details compared to the body because of all the details. And very often, especially when the drawing is not quite big, I tend to draw the head too big because I want to get in all these details, and I sketch it out first, the overall shape, and then I draw in the details, and I need to get bigger at some parts of the head. Yeah, that's a hard thing, and we artists all suffer and have to come over those things. So there, just wanted to say that you're not alone. We all make plenty of mistakes all the time. And that I wanted to say again, because I get it very often that people tell me that their motivation lacks because of mistakes they're doing, and they feel like, well, If you watch someone draw on YouTube, everything works out so fine and so great. But that's not the case. We all make mistakes. All of us artists, the good ones, the bad ones, we all have trouble with some things more, some things less. So don't despair. If you make a lot of mistakes, that means you might be learning a lot. So it's okay to make mistakes. And before we will take a small break, the next powerful pose waits for us. We just start with a box and add the left shoulder muscle on the box, because this is the upper body from almost above, because he's bent forward a lot in this pose. But you can see that already. Just follow my lead here. It's easier than you might think, although it will be a very cool and complicated looking pose. What's very important, you just saw me drawing in the stomach. It's really small. Don't make the mistake to make the upper body appear too long, because there's a lot of foreshortening. We see mostly the upper body from above, which means the big heavy shoulders and also the chest muscles. But other than that, everything is very small. Well, from the upper body, I mean. And you can already see this looks like a very cool pose. Quite powerful and super angry. And we need the Hulk to be angry, because that's the Hulk. Okay, there's a little bit of foreshortening in the left leg, but not very much. In this pose he's a little bit more in a squat, but you could also go ahead and draw the left leg stretched out to the back a little bit more. From the right arm there's only the lower arm to be seen, because the other one, the upper arm is hidden behind the shoulder. The left arm, tricep, and a very big shoulder muscle. That's a cool pose. Very powerful. And the face on this one is very straight forward looking, and he's screaming as hard as he can. You'd have to draw him screaming in this pose, because that's just what he's doing. The whole body screams, if you know what I mean. And also make the nose very short. That's one of the most important things when drawing the head of the Hulk. But like I said earlier, you will be able to learn that when we are doing the head sketch later on. Make everything a little bit more jagged. And now we need to concentrate again on the stomach muscles. They need to be a little bit more defined. There's the chest, and those small thin lines, they are the stomach muscles already. Of course, the usual muscles on the feet. Not very hard to do. There's a little bit of foreshortening on the right leg. You can even go ahead and do it a little bit more, so it looks more bent back. And this one is almost done, which means now we will take a little break, a minute or something, and fool around with Laurence, because, you know, I love my Laurence. And we all have earned a small break.
The Hulk. The rote Hulk.
The big one, yes!
Boah groß. Großer Mann, kleiner Mann, großer Mann. Hallo, großer Mann. Bumm. Wieder auf die. Hat die. Bumm, hat die. Mama. Und auf die. Kann nur mehr halten.
Who is stronger, Hulk or Thor? Who is stronger, Laurence?
Watermelon. Wait. Without camping.
Ouch! I guess the small Hulk is the strongest one.
A optic. Ow! With optic. Hello.
That was refreshing, don't you think? Next one! There's also a line for the shoulders and the upper body. Always the same, but in different angles. You can see the right arm is pointing towards us, the lower arm. So very often it helps to draw like a cylinder. It's easier to imagine stuff then. So you can draw in three-dimensional shapes. It might help quite a lot of times. And this pose is actually a very famous one because that's one from the, I think it even was a movie poster from one of the Avengers movies, I guess. I've seen it quite a lot. I think it's one of the first poses when you Google Hulk or something like that. Which, by the way, is the best way to find poses. If you are looking for a pose for a character, just Google, for example, Captain America cool pose or whatever, and you will find so many different drawings and real life poses you can use. And even if it's just for practice. But I did a lot of research in this video to get some cool poses you might like. So I did that for you, but still, go ahead and feel free to do this with all kind of poses you can find on the internet. And this is also a pretty cool one. You can see the Hulk is looking in the direction where he is going to take a big punch. And he's punching out of his left shoulder. You can even see that in the gesture drawing, and that's very good. That's a good sign. We need to be able to get all the movements in the gesture drawing already, and you could think of him like he's standing there, but actually he's in the air. He's elevated. He's hitting out of a jump. So he's afloat and ready to kill a foe. Then there's the left hand. Sometimes there's not enough room for a finger. Then you just have to stick it in somehow. But yeah, make sure that they're even. And there's the face already. Pretty mean looking all the time. Actually, I should draw a Hulk who's looking nice. Haven't seen that one ever, I guess. But I don't know if it would work out. Yeah, then of course we draw in all the major muscle groups. You don't have to do that. You can stick to the overall gesture drawing. But I think it's so important to also learn all these muscle groups. So I draw them in all the time, even if I'm practicing. I guess that's the better way. Cool one done. And there's still enough place on our piece of paper to do another one. We are again drawing a box because this is a view from a little bit of above of the body. Because this Hulk is running towards us. And I always say Hulk, you don't have to call it Hulk, it's a Hulk-like figure. You could also draw the Abomination, or you could also tone down all these poses and draw the Batman in a pose like that. But what we are focusing on today are the Hulk-like creatures, so let's stick to the Hulk. And mostly you have to be careful. Of course you have to draw everything a little bit more bulky, but you have to be extra careful to make him broad enough. He needs to be wide. That's the main difference, because you cannot just go ahead and use a normal gesture drawing from a character like the Batman, because you could bulk up a normal gesture drawing from the Batman, but it would not be wide enough, and that would not look very hulky. You can see the left leg is very small because, like I said earlier, he's kind of sprinting towards us, and so the left leg is very behind. And again, almost no nose, I mean no length of the nose. It's very, very small, but broad. This is also a very cool pose, I think. It's very dynamic. And what I like mostly about this one is the Hulk looks so motivated. It's like, yeah, I'm coming. No worries, I'm on my way. And it's cool when a simple pose already tells you so much. There's again, like in the other pose, very big shoulder muscles, especially because we see them from above. And the left arm and the left leg is very big, of course, because it's nearer to us than the other one. Always make sure to make your drawing jagged enough so it looks comic book stylish. And then we are just adding some more muscles. It's very similar to the pose from before in many ways, because it's the same foreshortening from the upper body, which is, I thought, very good to train a little bit more, because very often we tend to draw a figure standing upright because we want to show the big torso and stuff like that. So at least for my part, I don't do that often enough. So that's why I chose two of those poses with those foreshortened upper bodies. This pose is one where the Hulk is smashing with both hands, so a really powerful pose. You see him quite often in this one because that's a typical Hulk pose. You wouldn't see Superman pulling a stunt like that. Also very cool pose. I think it needed to be there because I wanted to cover all the really epic and very typical poses of the Hulk in this case. So go along with this one as well. And it's also a quite different one than most of the others. The body is bent as a whole, so the feet and the arms are pointing backwards, which makes it quite different from all the other poses. But it looks nice. Very cool one as well. I drew this one a little bit smaller. You can go ahead and draw everything big or small, or the best thing would be to do these videos a couple of times, and at some point maybe first draw them a little bit smaller, then try to draw them a little bit bigger and mix them up. That's really a good practice, and so you will get comfortable to draw in all sizes. And usually you will have a size which you feel most comfortable at. So don't just draw in this one. If you're feeling most comfortable in very small sizes, then first draw them in the comfortable zone, but then do the video again and draw him bigger. So you will not be as comfortable, but then you will learn way more. And should you be here the second time, hello again! Nice that you are drawing along the second time. So that's like Back to the Future stuff that happened right there. And should you be one of those guys out there who are really serious with their art career as a comic book artist, hello for the third time! You are going to make it, because you show the effort. Okay, this one is done, and which brings us to the next one. Also a slightly above view of the upper body, and you can also see the cylinder shape I used for the right forearm, because this one is also a little bit, this arm is bent towards us a little bit, and this is also, by the way, a very cool pose. I like this one a lot. Just go along and you can see the left arm is even more pointed in our direction. He's showing his fists in this drawing. And the upper body is foreshortened a little bit, but not as much as in the other two ones. So that's also quite nice to work on. It's also always nice to try out different angles from all the different body parts. This is our underwear. I always draw the underwear. It makes things easier a lot. And yeah, from there on, it's very easy to know exactly where the legs belong. And you see the left upper leg is very foreshortened. And as you can see there, you can exaggerate the feet and the toes, especially the gap between the big toe and the other toes. That's just a very fine look. So go nuts with this gap. Looks cool. And you can definitely see, okay, this creature is barefoot. In this pose, the Hulk is also coming towards us a little bit, but not in a very speedy way. He's like, he looks like he is about to jump off or just get in a backyard brawl kind of fight. But I really like the pose. And the hands are very big, even for a Hulk-like creature, because they are nearer to us than the arms. And there you can see we draw in the stomach muscles, and they are way smaller than they would be at an upright position, but still they are good to be seen. And in this one, I wanted to show you that you can even go ahead and take a drawing, in this case, the David Finch Wolverine, and also use it just to get the gesture out of it, but still bulk up the figure and draw a Hulk out of this pose. Because the body structure from Wolverine is too thin for a Hulk, but you can see the thing you have to do mostly is, like I told you earlier, to widen the proportions. He needs to be more broad. And other than that, you can go ahead and take the pose as it is, and it works out. So I guess that's also pretty cool for you to see, and now it might be easier for you to try it out on different characters. It also works the other way around, which means you can also draw the Batman or the Wolverine from a Hulk pose, and you just have to make him thinner, not so wide. But I guess it's easier to use a kind of normal comic book character pose and bulk it up. And just so you know, the drawing from David Finch you can see on my cell phone, that's the one I used for my How to Draw David Finch's Wolverine, which might be a nice opportunity for you to draw along. I did the whole drawing in real time. It's a really long video, but you can follow along in real time, step by step, easier than you might think. And yeah, that's pretty cool. Check it out if you haven't already. Here we are defining the muscles again. Just make them a little bit more jagged, stick them out here and there. And make sure that the head is not too big, because we want to look this extra bulky, and you can see it works pretty well. It's definitely the same pose, without the claws of course, but it's the Hulk. So fool around with all the poses you like, it will work once you bulk up everything. And last but not least, we will practice to draw the Hulk's head, because he has such a particular face. It's very important to draw that right, and also very easy. You will see in a second, I mean, he needs to look angry, and you will see in a second, just put the nose where I do right here. You can even go ahead and make it shorter than that. That's your choice, but you can see already this is the Hulk. And isn't that great? I mean, it's just a few lines and you can recognize the cool look. From the nose down to the lips, there's a big gap, so be aware of that. I guess you could put the nose down a little bit further and it would look like a normal face, but that's the way the Hulk works. Which is great, because in this way you also have more room to make him shout, because the Hulk is screaming lots of times, and there you have enough room from the nose to the chin to make him scream. And yeah, just follow along with this one. You will see how easy it is to draw a decent Hulk face. It's very unique and epic, but still not hard to do. And again, as I told you earlier, you can variate the hair. You can do it like I did just here, or you just draw main hair on the upper head. That's your choice. And just like that, we are done with our Hulk drawing practice. Do this one every other day for a week and your Hulk figurines will look amazing.
I hope you had fun drawing along with me in real time. Let me know down in the comments if you would like to do another one of these. Yeah, that's the Hulk, right? But now, my friends, I want you to go and watch this video. That's the first one I did with gesture drawings, drawing practice, just like this one. Check it out, there's just some normal body structures like the Batman and stuff like that. Have fun drawing these as well, and don't forget to draw every day.
Bye.
Bye.